nails with the Orioles as they head to Yankee Stadium this weekend. And, of course, the undefeated 3-0 Baltimore Ravens hosting an old friend in Jack Del Rio and Rod Woodson and a whole Kelechi Osemele and a whole bunch of them coming east from the Bay Area. And the Oakland Raiders have done okay this year. Defense has a little ways to go. Larry Beal covers all things Bay Area sports, which keeps him very busy this time of year. You may remember his work from Bristol many years ago. He's at ABC 7 now in the Bay Area in San Francisco at KGO. And you can follow his journey on Twitter at Larry Beal ABC7. Larry, welcome back, man. How's life in the Bay Area?
We are extremely busy and wondering whether the Raiders are really going to make this run that everybody was looking forward to at the start of the season, because I think they were preseason picks by many. That was before we saw the Broncos get off to the great start, to win the division, but also whether, the Giants are going to invoke some even year magic and make a run down the stretch here. But they're day to day for sure, because you never quite know what you're going to get with the San Francisco Giants these days.
Well, look, I was out there for the Super Bowl, 8 months ago, and it was pretty obvious both of those teams on the struggle. But the Raiders are the ones on the come. The Raiders have the quarterback. They have Khalil Mack. There are higher expectations for the Raiders, and the Raiders are the team that is rumored to be headed to Las Vegas or Los Angeles or somewhere else any day now. But they are the only hope in the Bay Area to win this year, right?
Yeah, the 49ers are a mess. So I would I would just not even pay a lot of attention to that unless you like watching a train wreck or something. I mean, it's year one with Chip, and they don't have much talent. And you can go on and on with Colin Kaepernick. We could do several hours of your program on that if you really want things to grind to a halt. But the Raiders. I mean, you look at this game. First of all, who's going to greet Kelechi Osemele? That is a big, angry dude. I'll tell you that. When he's on the field, that's going to be interesting to watch. But beyond that, have you talked much about the schedule? I mean, the Raiders. This will be their fourth game. This is their third trip back east. I mean, it's just.
Oh, they still got to go to Florida for 2 weeks. I mean, Jack's going to have them live down there in Sarasota for a week and a half, right? I mean, I guess that's a Halloween week. We're on the bye week. But, this is the tough part of being a West. We had it last year. We played 4 games on the West Coast last year. Okay. But the West Coast teams play 4 games on the East Coast almost every year.
But you don't have them stacked with 3 of your first 4. So I think this is a big game for the Raiders just from a fatigue standpoint. And if you could figure out some way to escape with a 3-1 record, even though they've had a number of lapses defensively, I think they would say, we'll take that all day long. I'm not sure whether that's possible, and it's not because I think the Ravens are great. If you look at their collective record against the teams that they've played so far, which is not outstanding, so it's hard to know what the Ravens have. I'm not, there's a handful of 3-0 teams. Are the Ravens really as good as some of those other 3-0s? I'm not sure.
Well, this is one where we're going to find out, because we do feel like the Raiders are a good test. One of the disappointing things for the Raiders, and I know Jack believes in defense out there, not getting after the quarterback. And I think that is a little bit shocking, and I don't know if that's going to change this week. The Ravens have been pretty decent at protecting Flacco. The Ravens are trying to find their running game, but a lot more weapons in the passing offense for Joe Flacco than we believed with Steve Smith, Dennis Pitta, all these guys that were real question marks even 4 weeks ago. Now 3 weeks into this, you start to see these guys can still do this. Where is the Raiders' defense at this point?
That's a great question, and I think that's one that Jack Del Rio asks Ken Norton Jr., his defensive coordinator, every single day, because it's been a disappointment. I watched last week's game and really tried to pay close attention to Khalil Mack, because he's an all-pro player and projected to be the next big thing, and he's just not getting to the quarterback. Now, at times he's being double-teamed. A lot of time he's not, and he's not getting there. They've tried to start moving him around, flipping it from the left side to the right side and changing his rush angles, but he's getting some pressure, not quite getting home. So we'll see. That has to change. He's kind of been a slow starter in his first and second seasons and really picked it up in the middle of each of those previous seasons. So I don't know whether it's scheme, whether it's just the fact that people are paying a lot more attention to him, or the fact that he doesn't have anybody else on the defensive line who's getting great pressure that opponents have to pay attention to. But the bigger concern, it is tied together, is pass defense, because if you watch the game against New Orleans, you watch the game against the Falcons, the Raiders' secondary has been pretty shaky, Sean Smith in particular, but they just give up big chunk plays down the field. If I'm Mike Wallace, and I love Steve Smith. When he's 100, Steve Smith will be able to go out and beat some guy deep. He's amazing. Just a fantastic player. I love, given his size, his intensity, and his fire, he's awesome.
Yeah, we've really had, incredible comebacks this year. Flacco's like fourth in line for the comeback, and he's the quarterback. I mean, Suggs is out there running around a couple sacks, not looking the same, but Pitta and Steve Smith, these were all guys we spent 8 months of the offseason kind of crossing our fingers, and, 3 of them well in the advanced age of 30, and you think, well, they can't all come back. They can't all turn back the clock, but they have the first 3 weeks. It's really been impressive, Larry.
I think anytime you can get whatever you can get from a guy like a Steve Smith at this point in his career, when there was question, he's going to retire, is he coming back, or what's the deal? I just think the intangibles also. He just brings a level of intensity that on Sunday he is going to bring whatever he has. And so if you remember last year's game, the Raiders and the Ravens, they went back and forth, and you just don't know what you're going to get, but I think it's going to be a pretty fiery game, and I'll be interesting to see that. You guys always have such a physical defense, and you know what Kelechi is going to be doing out there. It's going to be interesting to watch. Could be a lot of points in this game too, because I'm not sure that the Raiders defense can really stop anybody. I know you guys have had trouble running the ball, and we'll see if that gets untracked in this game, but I think it's going to be a really intriguing matchup.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Raiders haven't had trouble running the ball. I mean, they've been very, very effective in that part of the game. The Ravens have not given up a lot on the run. Front seven's been pretty stout. It's going to be interesting. As a West Coast team coming and playing early in the morning, running the football is going to be a big part of what the Raiders are going to try to do on Sunday.
Hate the 10 a.m. game. Just hate the 10.
Well, if you like a Bloody Mary, it's not bad, Larry, out on your coast,
Yeah, no, I'm happy that I don't have to get up and block anybody. That's or make the tackle. But it's good. It's good from a viewing standpoint. I just think it's hard, especially when you're doing it 3 out of the first 4 weeks of the season. And the back end for the Raiders too. They have 3 of their final 4 on the road on the back end. So I don't know what the schedule maker was doing when they made this. Of course, in the middle of the season, they're home for like a month with a bye in there as well. So I guess it all balances out in the end, but it's a hard way to start your year, I think.
Yeah, with Murray and Richard and Washington, I mean, this is they're mixing it up. I know the Ravens are using 2 backs, would like to be using a 3rd back in Dixon. He's not around, but this seems to be a new trend in the NFL, too, that you're not just going to give the ball to somebody 30 times a game anymore.
No, and the Raiders are doing that. They're mixing it up, and I think it depends. If you have an Adrian Peterson type player, when he's healthy, of course, then you can afford to do that. There aren't many of those guys around, and I don't know whether it's a cause and effect thing because you hear so many guys. Well, the running back position has been devalued. Is it devalued because there aren't enough guys that are like Adrian Peterson, or is it because you could just get more wear and tear out of guys if you're not handing the ball off 30 times? The Raiders have done some interesting things. I mean, they got 2 kids in there. One of them is DeAndre Washington, who's just so explosive, and it just gives you different looks. And Latavius Murray, he's had times where he'll cough the ball up. This is past seasons. He's been solid this year, but where you're just not really quite sure. So splitting the workload makes sense from that standpoint. And the Ravens said Justin Forsett. I can't believe Justin Forsett is still playing. That's another. You want to talk about older guys in the league making a contribution. My goodness, I remember when he was in the backfield at Cal, which seems like just a long time ago.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch is now gone, and Justin Forsett's still running around. Larry Beal joining us here from out in the Bay Area. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Larry Beal. That's Beil, ABC7. You may remember his days from the 4-letter word up in Bristol. And now, how many years in the Bay Area for you now, Larry?
This is 16, and
wow.
I'm actually going, doing more work for the worldwide leader again, co-hosting SportsCenter on occasion down in L.A. So you'll see me back there. In fact, next month as well, in October.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, Neil Everett and I are doing some shows together.
Old school.
Yeah.
The way we used to do it. Absolutely. Well, tell you what, old school, across the water there on your side of the harbor, the Giants, you say every even year, we're in this pennant race here, Larry, and we feel like we've been in it all along. We feel like we've been nervous all along. The pitching wasn't very good at the beginning for the Orioles. The hitting has gone silent going into the last weekend. But however a collapse it would be here, and it would be a pretty monumental collapse if the Orioles aren't playing baseball on Tuesday, nothing compared to where the Giants were, which was, amongst the best teams in baseball at the All-Star break, and now very, very much hard-pressed here through the weekend to try to win some baseball games to keep their season alive.
Could we borrow Trumbo for the week?
He's going to strike out a lot, but he might hit a big one for you,
That's we'll take it. We got enough guys who just strike out. we need some guys who can hit the ball out of the park. I mean, it's been just hard to even describe the collapse from best team at the All-Star break to worst team since then. And, you talk to the GM, Brian Sabian. These are baseball guys. They've been around the game for 30, 40, 50 years. He and Bruce Bochy. Well, probably not 50.
Bochy's working on 40, dude. I had his baseball card in the 70s. Come on now.
No, but they're on a daily basis as perplexed and frustrated and just don't know what to do because, how does it go that bad that fast? And it hasn't just been one thing. Yeah, they've had some injuries, but the bullpen collapse, I think that's the most frustrating thing. And Bobby Evans is now the general manager of the team, even though Brian Sabian, who was the architect of the World Series clubs and is still there. Their big frustration is at the trade deadline, they didn't go out and get a reliever that could lock things down in the ninth inning. And so,
and there were a lot of them out there, right? You look around. There were moves to be made.
Yeah, there were, but everybody was asking for a ransom, and the Giants thought, well, we piece it together. Casilla won them a World Series as the closer a couple of years ago. Sergio Romo did it in 2012. So they had a lot of bodies, but nobody who has been really effective. And so now it's closer by committee, which is just as soon as I heard that, I was just like, oh no. That means you have nobody.
That means you're using two quarterbacks, right?
Yeah. Unless you're the Patriots, and you seem to have every quarterback is just an all-pro. But it's just it hasn't worked, and the hitting went south, and then the starting pitching went south, and these things have been happening. It's just once you think you've got one thing solved, then there's another issue. It's just like, you're trying to plug the leak and you got your thumb in it, and then, oh no, there's a leak over there. Now there's a leak. Now it's that. And now it's just been never ending, the last 2.5 months. And here we are, only a few games left, and we'll see. 3 teams in contention for 2 spots. And it's very much a day-to-day situation. And we'll see if the Giants can, because all anybody is thinking is, if we just get in. We just gotta get in because they've proven you could win the whole thing coming out as the wild card. And so if they just get in and the rotation isn't a complete mess from going through whatever type of wild card play-in scenario there is, if there is one, if you get the 3 teams, then we've got Bumgarner and Cueto, and if Samardzija is pitching well, Matt Moore, then they can be dangerous because of their pitching staff. On any given day, any one of those guys can go out and shut somebody out. So that's what they're banking on. It's like a guy crawling through the desert looking for a bottle of water, just trying to get to the finish line. And the division race is long gone. The Dodgers have that locked up for a while. That's what the Giants were really counting on. And their last 3 games are against the Dodgers. So head-to-head with these 2 storied franchises, and we'll see. The Dodgers would like nothing better than to knock the Giants out of contention.
Well, no one will have a better pitcher on Tuesday or Wednesday when they'll be playing wild cards on Wednesday in the National League. But, Bumgarner will be taking the ball that night. I mean, it's all kind of set up that way. Cueto and Samardzija would be rested at that point for a one-game all-in. Game one is Game 7 in that round. We know that. And I see them as being incredibly dangerous, even going out to St. Louis or New York if they can get there this weekend. But to your point, the Dodgers can put them out of their misery this weekend. The Dodgers can sort of exercise the SFG over the weekend in San Francisco, and the Dodgers don't have much to play for, but knocking the Giants out would be a lot to play for over the weekend, I would think.
Yeah, you just I don't know what the level of intensity will be from the Dodgers' perspective, because they're going to have things all locked up most likely, and just cruising on in. But how much do you want to rest your main guys? The division is theirs, obviously, so that it's not like there's much for them to play for. And
they're going to be playing straight away the Nationals, right? I mean, the Cubs are so far ahead, the wild card's going to wind up getting that game.
Yeah. And that's the other thing from the Giants' perspective is, let's say you run through the gauntlet here, you make it in, and you capture the wild card, and you move on and advance to play the Cubs. Then it's like, because their offense is prolific, and the Giants' offense is anemic, and so. I don't know. That'll be a nice problem to have if they can get that far. But it's so day to day, and the old saying about momentum in baseball is as good as your starting pitcher. Tomorrow's starting pitcher. That's what it's all about. I mean, if Matt Moore goes out and strikes out 11, then you're in great shape. But any one of these, even Bumgarner, you don't know. The last series of the year, if Puig looks at him the wrong way, who knows what happened?
We had the Blue Jays and the Yankees going out there, and the Blue Jays trying to piss their season away, getting their second baseman hurt, getting the bullpen hurt. The Nationals lost their catcher this week. I mean, this is still sort of treacherous here over the last week, getting healthy bodies, onto the field next week and next weekend.
And fun to watch, though. It is. You have to admit that the unpredictability of it. And years ago, there were all these questions about whether a wild card was good, whether adding a second wild card position was good. You look at all the more teams that are in contention now, and I don't think there's any question about whether it was wise to do that, because you just the unpredictable nature of and even just looking at the tie-breaking scenarios is either it's fun / dizzying just to consider all the possibilities, but it does create a scenario where so many more teams are alive at this point with a few games left.
He is Larry Beil, longtime ESPN anchor, now out in San Francisco. What a great town that is, a KGO. You can follow him at Larry Beil, Beil, ABC7. Dude, I got to go off the playbook here, just off the reservation. Yeah. I'm checking out your Twitter. Were you just in Australia for a couple weeks?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, we're going over and chasing Springsteen in late February. My wife and I. It's one of our favorite places, man. What a place they got over there, right? Let's not tell everybody how great it is. They'll all go over there and wreck it, man.
You know what? I completely agree with you. And this is my first time there.
Oh, okay.
And was there for 2 weeks. And the excuse was my alma mater, the University of Hawaii, was playing Cal.
That's right. I watched part of that game. It was kind of wacky, right, on the rugby grounds, right?
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, it was a great game. 61,000 people. Half of them had no idea what American football was about. But Sydney Harbor, the Opera House. I mean, it is spectacularly gorgeous. The food, the people.
The exchange rate.
Well, that too. But it's just a great place, and you have so many different climates there. And we ended up going out to a place called the Whitsunday Islands.
I know the Whitsunday Islands. You do Hamilton Island or what?
We did Airlie Beach, and we went to the Whitsundays in Whitehaven Beach, which for people just when you're done with this, go to Google
it,
and
Google
Google
it.
Whitehaven
That's
Beach.
all you need to do. Yep, that's
Look,
right.
I grew up in Hawaii, so I know beaches, okay? Whitehaven Beach is the most spectacular beach I've ever seen. Unbelievable. unbelievable.
So we're
The
going
clearest
there.
water.
My wife and I did 20 days in Australia 3 years ago, right before she got cancer the first time. We were chasing Springsteen. So we did Sydney, Brisbane. We did Fraser Island, which is this incredible sort of uninhabited sand island. We had fun. We stopped at Fiji on the way back. We did our thing. This time we're doing New Zealand because we loved Brisbane so much, and my wife needs to hold a koala again. We're going back there. We're doing Noosa, but we've decided instead of doing Sydney again or going somewhere else, we're going to the Whitsunday Islands, and the Whitehaven Beach experience is, believe me, my wife has seen that one floating around on the internet and said, there, we're going to go. And I've been there. I went there in 1998, a long time ago, but I said, yeah, we'll go back there. That place doesn't suck. Diving on the Great Barrier Reef, there's worse things you can do than that.
You're right. You're absolutely. I wish I could go back with you. I told one of the Aussies down there, I said, your country is amazing. I just wish you were closer to California. If you were like 3 hours away. And he said, yeah, you'd all move here. We don't want that.
You'd wreck the place, right? I mean, it'd be like Don Henley, call someplace paradise, kiss it goodbye. I mean, it's the end of it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a magical place, and I would just encourage anybody that has the opportunity to. It's a long flight. It might be 15 hours, whatever.
Read a book.
Watch a bunch of movies, and you'll love it. The people, I can't on a scale of 1 to 10, they're at a 12 for me. So. Love it.
That's why we're going back. I mean, it's not because it's a short flight. That's for sure. Larry, great having you on, man. I mean, Giants going to make the playoffs next week, you think, or no? You betting on them or against them at this point?
Maybe. It's been so much just watching them. I've thrown in the towel I don't know how many times, and every time Casilla gives up a bomb, I just walk away and just go, I can't watch these guys anymore. And then they just reel you back in. They score 12 runs in a game. You go, it might happen. So I don't know. If they make it, I don't think they'll be around long. I'll just say that.
Hey, man, love your work. Love having you on. I appreciate you always making time for us out there in the Bay Area. We'll get back out there and visit you soon. We'll come out to a Warriors game or something somewhere down the line. I know they own the place out there. You had a hell of a spring with the Warriors and the Sharks all kind of involved. Not a happy spring, but, happier to be playing than not playing. It's been a busy year out there in the Bay Area for sports.
It's busy all the time now, especially with the arrival of Kevin Durant. My goodness, Media Day was a circus. And every game is going to be a circus.
And they're going to win 74 this year, right? Because 73 wasn't enough last year.
No, they don't even want that. Nobody wants that. They don't need the. It's going to take a little time. They'll be happy with 65, 66. They just want the 1 seed in the West. That's all they care about.
All right, man, bring it on. Basketball season, hockey season around the corner, and, of course, football season here. The Oakland Raiders headed to Baltimore. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Aussie, oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, you were going to sing Waltzing Matilda before it's all over with. Larry Beal, ABC 7, the way to find him. I almost feel like Aussie rules football right now. The little guy in the white suit with the fingers there, with the flags, the whole deal. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear, even in Australia. And I know this because I got fan mail from Brisbane earlier this week from out on Twitter and from our Bayou Toyota Audio Vault. So everything Larry just said to all my Aussie friends goes same for you. You can also get our morning newspaper at 7 a.m. That is East Coast time, delivered to your email inbox free of charge and powered up by our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Last but not least, breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Big weekend of fun. Orioles in New York. Ravens hosting, the undefeated Ravens. I got to say it as long as it exists. Hosting the Raiders, who are not undefeated, by the way, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Luke's on the backfields in Owings Mills. Anything you're looking for, you can find in our social media. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, and, of course, our YouTube WNSTV live channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports. And defeated 3-0 Baltimore Ravens taking on the Oakland Raiders on Sunday. Of course, that's a fun on Wednesday night with Chris Carter and Ryan Jensen out at Greenmount Station for the Bone Marrow Registry. We're going to have some more shows coming up. But